to tell us who you are and what it is you do.
Alright, so I'm Ethan from HylianBandicoots, one half of HylianBandicoots, because there's two of us on the channel. Arguably the better half, although it's a pretty easy argument because I would win. We just do like gaming let's plays and videos and stuff, and recently I've been doing like gaming news videos and thoughts and stuff, which is probably how I ended up doing this lovely thing. So that's about it really. I'm British.
I am also British. My name's Marker, and I come from a channel called NintendoBox. I do news, I've done a few reviews. I generally do these kind of discussions, and I have a kind of mainstay series which is called Nintendo Know, which is a bit more factual. And that's about all there is to know.
Alright, and I'm Game Over Jesse, and on my channel you can find the Nerdvana podcast, where we sit down with a special guest each week to talk about all sorts of nerdy things. There's also tons of Zelda news and theory videos. I wanted to talk to you guys today about Zelda, specifically Ocarina of Time, and how it's viewed as one of, if not the best Zelda game by all of the fans. Everybody looks at it as a revolution in terms of video games, with the gameplay, the story, and just how it was basically the first to really capture your imagination in a 3D world. Would it be possible for Nintendo to sort of do that again with a new game, specifically Zelda for Wii U?
I think that it would be possible to create something that gets like as acclaimed as Ocarina of Time, but recreating like the same thing that Ocarina of Time did isn't that possible until we have new technological advancements. Because like, if you think about, I think it was it A Link to the Past that came before Ocarina of Time?
Yes.
Was like the last game before Ocarina of Time. That was like a 2D top-down game, which was classic of Zelda, like what we were used to seeing. And then like one of the reasons it was so big was because of the transition to 3D and stuff. And since then, we've not like had like a transition to 4D because like it doesn't exist. So unless it made like some sort of like first person like perspective or something that was like really different in terms of gameplay, like we wouldn't have the difference in terms of like how different it was from A Link to the Past. My camera's just gone out again, but okay. But like, yeah, I think to be really big and like revolutionary from Skyward Sword, because a lot of people accuse Skyward Sword from being linear, and I'm just saying Skyward Sword because it was the last like main 3D game, wasn't it really? I think it was.
Yeah, console.
Not counting the remakes. Yeah, to be like a big revolutionary game, I think it needs to go back to the style that the original Legend of Zelda had, where you can just like the non-linearity, so you can just go wherever you want, and just go to any sort of how A Link Between Worlds did. You can just go to any dungeon in any order you want and just literally explore, because that's something that it's sort of lost. Not with A Link Between Worlds, but certainly with Skyward Sword. And I thought Skyward Sword was amazing. It's one of my favourite Zelda games, but I have to agree with like the dowsing stuff and how linear that game was. In order to get like a real revolutionary feel that Ocarina of Time had when it came out, it needs to be like really like open world and stuff. Like a lot of people have talked about it as like the Skyrim Zelda, because Skyrim did beat Skyrim did kind of beat Nintendo to the punch on doing that massive open world thing in 3D. But I think that if this game, and it's looking from the gameplay to be that way, like massive open world game, but if it's that way, then I think it'll definitely turn my head in.
I think definitely. I think, to be honest, everyone kind of beat Zelda and Nintendo to the punch when it came to open world games. There's been so many. And the short answer for me, at least, would be, if it can be as revolutionary as Ocarina of Time, no. Because Ocarina of Time is one of the two games, I'd say, that were really revolutionary in the transition from 2D to 3D with that and Super Mario 64. They just kind of set the whole guidelines for how you make a 3D game.
Yeah.
So I can't really see Zelda recreating that kind of revolutionary feel. I can definitely see them making a game which, with the fans, is equal in their eyes to Ocarina of Time, but nothing that really blows them away from a purely mechanical point of view.
Yeah. Do you think what you said, that they probably wouldn't be able to make a game that was greater than Ocarina of Time in the fans' eyes, but they can try to create one that's equal? Do you think that's why they ended up making Ocarina of Time on the 3DS instead of just remaking it for the Wii U? Because once you take Ocarina of Time and then completely rebuild it from the ground up with HD graphics and textures and higher resolution and everything, you can't really do much more than that. But transitioning it to the 3DS, it's still playing in 480p, it still has all the jagged edges, it doesn't have the HD textures or anything. So do you think we could be seeing an HD remake of Ocarina of Time at some point in the future?
Maybe.
I think possibly, but I hope not. I hope that we get Mario 64 HD instead of Ocarina of Time HD, because
I'm right there with you.
Ocarina of Time is my favourite Zelda game ever, but like when I think about it, I can't really deny that like the nostalgia vision blindness, and it's not really nostalgia blindness for me because I only played it like about 5 or 6 years ago, because I am quite young anyway, so it came out in 1998 and I'm 17, so obviously I would have been 1, so I must have been like Stephen Hawking or something to play it when it first came out. But like that was the first Zelda game that I played, because when I wanted to get into the series I was like, well, which game should I play? Ocarina of Time. And that's probably the reason that it's my favourite of the series, because like when I think of Zelda I think of that game and I know everything about it. But if you think about it, like I don't think the game holds up that well. So if you made it on the Wii U, the like linearity of it, well, not linearity, but this like small, it's just I don't think the game holds up enough. Like I think if you look at Wind Waker HD, Wind Waker the game is like as good as Ocarina of Time, if not better, because there's more things to do and stuff. But I don't know,
like
it's just
Ocarina
something
of
about
Time.
Ocarina.
I feel like Ocarina of Time would be a bit sparse on a HD console. Like it kind of points out the sparsity of what they could do with that console. I think you'd have the same problem with Super Mario 64. It's just like the kind of primitive textures and stuff kind of what covers up the sparsity of it all.
Well,
I definitely think it's a great game.
Yeah, my dream for, I know this isn't a Mario podcast, but my dream for Super Mario 64 would be to have like, they make the whole game in HD and then like Bowser just builds another layer to the castle, so there's like loads more levels after you've beaten the original game.
Yes.
But
that would be great.
But yeah, but oh, and a little fact as well, wasn't Ocarina of Time originally based in a castle where you go off into loads of different multiple levels? Yeah.
Oh, really?
That was one of the original ideas for it.
But yeah, like not bashing Ocarina of Time at all because it's my favourite game of all time, but like I think it perfectly suits the 3DS for a remake. And if you haven't played it, like the 3DS is definitely the best way to play it because it's so good. And the same for Majora's Mask as well, because like that remake's really good and it takes out a bunch of annoying things like the fast forwarding on the Ocarina and stuff is a lot better on the 3DS version. But yeah.
Yeah, in terms, since we were on the subject of remaking Ocarina of Time for the Wii U, a lot of fans sort of look at Twilight Princess on the GameCube and the Wii as a reimagining of Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
With better graphics and better hardware capabilities, because in that game, just like in Ocarina of Time and, well, a lot of other games actually, you have your first 3 dungeons, which goes forest, fire, water, and then something happens that sort of changes the game. In Ocarina of Time, you were sent through time to become an adult, and then you could travel back and forth. And in Twilight Princess, I believe you were given the ability to turn back and forth between a wolf and a human at any point.
Yes.
And it just opened up the rest of the world for you to explore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's
definitely
like
see the links.
yeah, oh the links.
Nice pun there.
God damn it.
But I think like that's a good point to make about how this new one can't really revolutionize the series, because in every game that we've seen, every 3D game after Ocarina, you can see Ocarina in it, and that's like part of the characteristics of the Zelda series now.
Right.
So like in the new game, you are going to see parts of Ocarina. You know, you're going to see like maybe the instrument, or maybe the like I don't know, different like sages and stuff like that, and like different dungeons, and the story is not similar, it's always different, but and that's something that I don't like it when people say like it's just the same story, because it's not like Mario. There is an awesome story every time, but like the same sort of like structure to the narrative is essentially the same. Because if you look at like, I remember playing through Majora's Mask 3D and just thinking like the Deku Scrub, like if you look at the Deku Scrub and then like the Deku Leaf from Wind Waker, like it's just the same thing. They reuse like a lot of different things in the different games, so I don't think that this game can be like completely different, because if it wasn't, feel as Zelda-y. But like you said that Twilight Princess was a reimagining of Ocarina, like this game, this new one, could be like a reimagining of the original Zelda on NES, and that would be so good, because like
that's what
to have.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah,
keep going.
Yeah, just have like the top-down one transferred into the 3D space would just be so good. Like some people have theorized that it's like a complete remake of the original, haven't they? But and I would even be happy with that, to be honest. But,
yeah, there's a picture of Link from the gameplay they shown where he's standing on top of the cliff and the mountains are far off in the background, and that resembles the original artwork. And then there's another picture where everybody has taken the original Zelda game map and then taking the map from the new Zelda game, and sort of like all the different areas are in sort of the same locations, altered a bit, but everything's pretty much in the same location.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's definitely where we're going to be going with this Zelda. It seems like all things point to it being a reimagining of the first one, or at least taking a lot of inspiration from that. I think Al Newman actually said that himself, didn't he? But I think I think that could be really cool. I think it's really odd because it strays off topic a little bit, but all the Twilight Princess is like a reimagining somewhat of Ocarina of Time, maybe somewhat of a follow-up to it. I never really got Twilight Princess. I never liked it. It was always something that broke my heart that it was a Wind Waker 2 originally, and then they changed it to be Twilight Princess. I never liked that game. Like,
well, I think there was
not
a
a good Zelda game to me.
Yeah.
But that's just personal.
There was a massive. The only actual Zelda game that I didn't really enjoy too much was Minish Cap. Like, and I don't know why. Like, I just really didn't enjoy it. But it just got on my nerves. But like I think the reason they did that was because loads of people kicked off that. I don't know if that's used in America. Kick the term kicked off. I don't know. America will get what I mean, but loads of people like got angry about like the childishness of it, didn't they? So with Twilight Princess they went really gritty, and then with Skyward Sword they sort of merged the two. And the new Zelda Wii U looks again like merging, and I've actually absolutely loved that.
That is a wonderful look. It looks like a continuation of Skyward Sword, which is brilliant. I really like that look.
I was going to say the Wii U Zelda game, it looks like the first, starting with Wind Waker, actually starting with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, I think that look came from just trying to make it as realistic as possible in the terms of the power the Nintendo 64 had.
Yeah.
And with Wind Waker, they went with the cartoony look.
Yeah.
And then Twilight Princess was again realistic, trying to make it as realistic as the GameCube would allow. And then with Skyward Sword, it was sort of a mix between both of them, and it had that painted style artwork. And I see Zelda Wii U as more of an anime-ish style.
Yeah, I get that.
To where
Definitely
it has
less paintery than Skyward, but still like similar to Skyward, like more stark than Skyward. But yeah, with I think that was a great choice with Wind Waker, because like if you look at Wind Waker and Twilight Princess now, I actually think Wind Waker looks better. Not the HD one, but the regular version on the GameCube. Like
so much better. It holds up so well. Even Wind Waker just original, like HD is possibly the most beautiful game I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But Wind Waker on its own stands up well. Twilight Princess has so many muddy textures. It might have looked good at the time, but not so much now.
I even think that Wind Waker looks as good, if not better, than Skyward Sword, to be honest, because the GameCube and Wii had similar specs, didn't they? So, but the Wii.
The Wii was basically a GameCube with a higher clock speed and more RAM.
Oh no. Oh well, judging by like how the sales go, if they make the Wii U with a higher clock speed and more RAM, then they'll probably get like 1 billion sales. But because the GameCube didn't sell too well, and then when they came out with the Wii, it did amazing, and now the Wii U's not doing too good, and so maybe the next.
I'm kind of really hoping for just an Xbox One, PS4 kind of console. I'm done with gimmicks. Like I'd like it if it was that merging of the consoles, but I want third-party support. I want Nintendo to do well, so I just kind of want them to go with what works.